You got the phone call on April the 1st. Did you think maybe somebody's screwing with you a little bit on an April Fool's joke?
That's exactly what I thought. I thought it was an April Fool's, and I told them, it's kind of rude or cruel for you guys to do this, but it turned out to be the real thing. And what a day to have the real thing happen to you when all the jokes are going around. But very much appreciated, and on my way.
A little surprised, or was it like, okay, you were basically told this is going to happen soon?
Well, a little surprised. It was 38 years since I've last played a game. So for me to go in,
Yes.
but I believe better late than never. And but it is much appreciated.
Yeah, I bet. What are your expectations going there? I know originally you're going in with Jerry West, who is actually being inducted for the third time. Did you have a chance to talk to Jerry about this before he left us?
Yes, I did. I talked to him, and probably
What
about
was
a
that
week
like?
before. And it's a sad thing because Jerry was a big person in my life, big mentor. But I'm going to be sitting on his side.
Yeah.
He's going in as a contributor, and Jerry has contributed so much from player to coach to general manager to all the things that he did for the different organizations. So it's going to be very, very heartfelt. But
Yeah.
if I'm going in, what better person to go in with again?
Exactly. What can you share anything that you said to Jerry with us that last time?
No, we just talked about just how he was feeling at that time and everything, our progression over the years, and where I'm standing at this point in time. And a lot of it has to do with the things and words he spoke to me, and helped me out as not only as a player but as a young man after life after basketball.
Yeah, you were drafted in 1978, 60th overall. Not too bad for a future Hall of Famer. Now, if I told you at the time, oh, you're going in, Michael, what would you have said?
No, I mean, usually Hall of Famers are people that made the All-Star team one plus for sure, but at least 5 or 6 times. Hall of Famers to me are people that average like 20, 25 points, been all NBA, this and that. So for me to go in, mainly on the defensive side, sends a message to a lot of kids, and I'm not the only one. There's Bobby Jones, Dennis Rodman, Ben Wallace, guys that have gone in on the defensive side. So I'm kind of glad to follow in their footsteps. But it just shows if I can get in, anybody can get in. I mean, if you work hard and you do the right things you're supposed to do and play for the love of the game, good things will happen for you.
Yeah, that's so awesome. How good of a defensive player were you at Pasadena City College before you were talking Hall of Fame stuff?
Well, at the Pasadena City College is where I really got an opportunity. It's a junior college in Pasadena.
Yeah.
And it was really where I got a chance to do more offensive things. My defense has started in high school at Pasadena High School under Coach George Turgeon. But when I went to PCC, my coach then, Coach Barnes, kind of gave me the freedom to score a little bit more. So that's where I became a little bit more of a scorer, averaged about 18, 19 a game. My freshman year, my sophomore year, kind of went up to about 21, 22. And that's where I think that colleges, and that's where New Mexico, along with many others, came calling. So PCC was a time for me to be more creative on the offensive end.
Got it. And what about your first year with the Lakers? I didn't remember. You only played 3 games. Were you injured, or what was going on that year?
I got injured my rookie year going in. I got injured out at Cal State LA in a summer pro league. And so I had an opportunity to sit. And Jerry West was the head coach at the time. And you know what he told me? He said, you know what? Sometimes injuries can be a blessing in disguise. And that's exactly what it was, because had I not been injured going into that year, remember the Lakers had drafted Ron Carter out of VMI before me. And they were already loaded at the guard spot with Norm Nixon, Lou Hudson, Ron Boone, Jim Price. They had a lot of veterans there in front of me. So Jerry's always told me that year when I was hurt, listen, young man, just do your rehab, get better, work with the team. And it gave me an opportunity to kind of watch a lot of the practices, do a good job of rehabbing on my knee. And toward the end of the season, I've got to been about March, April, May, I started getting healthy enough to where I could play. And I remember the Lakers had a long road trip to end the season, and that's when they brought me on. And we went to, it was an East Coast trip. So we played in Washington, New York, New Jersey, and Washington was the last stop. And that's when I got in the game for the third time. But that was the time I got the most significant minutes. The other two times I got in, it was like a minute or two and really didn't do anything. So got to play against Washington is where I played, I believe, like 9 minutes.
Okay.
And I remember scoring 7 points. So that was kind of like my initiation to the NBA. And
Nice.
it was fun.
Yeah, I'm wondering, is it you compare it to like a quarterback coming out of college who doesn't play the first year or two in the NBA, in the NFL, but learns the game from watching? Is that sort of what you were doing during that first rookie year?
Oh, for sure. That's exactly what I was doing. Learning the game, watching how the officials were calling the game, understanding our offense. So when I got in there, you know, one of the best assets I had that Jerry said he drafted me by was my speed, getting up and down the floor. And I remember running and got in with Norm Nixon, who became one of the greatest players in Laker history. And Norm used to kick it up. I'm playing next to Jamal Wilkes, although they didn't play minute because when I got in the game was, I think we got blown out.
Oh, wow.
Washington was beating us. But I did get to play like 2 minutes with Norm and a couple of minutes with Jamal. So I got a chance to see how they play and at the level they play at. So usually a rookie gets in and you're in with all rookies and it's every man for himself out there on the floor. Right. So, you know, when you get the ball, it sometimes can look selfish because you want to show and score. But that's why I was glad I got out there with Norm and Jamal, because they still were playing the team concept and passing if I was open. And I scored 7 points against Washington.
Wow, that's great. Do you remember the first time that you met Jerry after you got drafted? Or had you ever met him before that?
I had met him before because he came down to New Mexico. And
okay.
Norm Ellenberger was a good friend, and everybody knows Jerry was a great golfer and loved to golf.
Yes.
So when he came down on his recruiting trip, he came down to see Marvin Johnson. And Marvin was like our scorer. Marvin was averaging for us about 28 or 30 points. So everybody was coming down to see him. I remember some people from the Chicago Bulls, who he eventually got drafted by them, came down to see him, and Jerry came down to see him, and Norm told us, "Hey, Jerry West is here. He come to see Marv." And I said to myself, "Well, if he's going to be here, let me show him what I got."
Right.
And I had a pretty good game, and I think that's how, because Marvin got drafted about 3 picks before in the second round, I believe, and I think that's why I became the Lakers pick.
Oh, well, good team though, right there, huh? A couple of guys getting drafted like that.
For sure. And that was my first encounter with Jerry, was meeting him after that game. "Hey, Mr. West, how you doing?" But he wanted to talk to Marv more, so I moved on. But then when I got drafted, I got a chance to talk to him. I was at the park playing, and they said, "Coop, you got drafted by the Lakers." So I run home. I get on the phone. That was the first time I had an opportunity to speak with Jerry live, and it was about me. It was one-on-one. So speaking to him then, was a good time. So then finally got a chance. Training camp start. We over at Loyola Marymount, and that's when I officially met him as my head coach.
Outstanding. And how about this guy, Mr. Chick Hearn, who is such a big part of the Lakers history? I'm sure you grew up listening to him on the radio, and all of a sudden he was right there on the bus with you every damn trip. Huh?
You know, you're about to make me cry, Ted. These are some very heartfelt pictures. Chick was absolutely incredible. You know, one of his nicknames was Golden Throat.
Yep.
And Chick could call a game. And I remember used to watching in the 60s when the Lakers, my uncle was a big Boston Celtic fan, but when the Lakers came on and played, Chick was calling the game. So we would sit there on our little screen, black and white TV, and Chick you could close your eyes and Chick could make you feel like you were at the game. Some of his Chickisms were the greatest. He really had a good feel of the game. He had that throatiness for the game, the typical kind of voice. And, you know, him and Johnny Most. Johnny Most was the announcer for the Boston Celtics, are two that comes to mind. Those two really brought the game to you. So being interviewed by Chick on that certain one, you had a feeling that you really had arrived in the NBA when Chick Hearn had a chance to interview you one-on-one. So I felt I had arrived.
Yeah, that's sort of like its own Hall of Fame right there, right? It's like, okay, I've made the big time, baby.
That's it. And to have him there talking to me, And with that smile right there that he had, I'll always remember Chick by that. But the one thing I always remember, Chick had his best chickism for Michael Cooper. We were playing the Seattle Supersonics, and he goes, "Coop is like linoleum. He's all over the place." And
I thought you were going to say Koopa Loop.
Yeah, but that linoleum chickism, that was the best. Because that really meant Chick understood your game. You know, he understood who you were as a player, as a Laker player, as well as the other teams we were playing. He had things for them players too. But when you can get your own chickism, you know, other than the Koopa Loop, everybody kind of knew. But that one there was the one that Chick Hearn put to me. That was kind of like my label. Coop is like linoleum. He's all over the place.
I love it. Can you close your eyes? I'm going to play a couple of seconds of Chick talking about you, baby.
Magic front guard runs into Cooper. Magic says, "Excuse me, sorry to wake you up."
Ames dribble drive down the middle of the ball, stolen by Cooper. It falls to Magic, coming with Worthy. He gives to Worthy, slam dunk.
2:17 to play. Patrick Riley right in front of us, kneeling down and looking very feverishly at this game. 8 seconds left. Screen by Worthy. Magic around it. Magic without a field goal in this half. Cooper 22 feet out. He got it, Michael Cooper. So the Lakers were caught at 96, and now they lead 107 to 100. The ball into Kareem. They're fattening up on the Lakers 2 games. To Cooper. He fires from 20. Looks good. It is good. Right in line with that one too, Keith.
That was a beauty. Nice pressure shot by Cooper.
That was it.
Okay, I got more, but we don't have a lot of time today. We got to go short because Michael has a flight to catch to go to some party or something to go into the Hall of Fame. I mean, I guess you always get the benefit of the doubt on that one.
On my way to Springfield, baby. But no, Ted, I mean, those 3 sound bites is what Chick Hearn was all about.
Yep.
And you know what? And I did what you asked me to do. I closed my eyes, and I mean, Chick just had that way. He could just describe the game. He went all the way down to what it smelt like in the Boston Garden or the Spectrum in Philadelphia. And him and at that time was Keith Erickson, and came on. Yep. Stu Lance became his last co-worker, but Chick had that ability to just really, I mean, Pat Riley kneeling down on the side, he gave you the whole ambiance of what was going on in that arena and for that play. But he did that for the whole game. And that was, you know, not many announcers could call the game like that. And
that's why Chick called it the bird's eye view. He wanted you to feel like you were actually seeing what he was telling you.
Well, you were that bird on his shoulder watching the game because he was there. So, but Chick was amazing, man. And just, you know, he was one that on his passing really hurt me because I had gotten close to Chick and his wife Marge at the time. And, you know, they're gone. And this going into the Hall of Fame, they will be talked about from me on my half because they played a big, important part in my career with the Los Angeles Lakers.
Absolutely. And you would know that I actually worked with Chick a few times on the broadcast. I wasn't on the air. I was a statistician or just helper at back in the early 80s. So it was just fun to sit next to him and be a part of it.
You know what, Ted? And listen, you were rubbing shoulders with the greatness. And I'm pretty sure some of the things, Chick's preparation for games, the things that he did to get ready to really call that game and make it really mean something. So anybody around him, statistician, the camera people, anybody that was around Chick Hearn, you took something from him and you were better about yourself and you learned more about the game working next to Chick Hearn.
You took the words right out of my mouth because he actually brought me into his office at the Forum a few times and showed me how he made the charts and everything. So I call him sort of a mentor early on. I didn't do that much basketball play-by-play. I did a little, but man, to sit there and have that man tell you, it was unbelievable. Now, what does this mean to you, this face?
Hey, you know what? Iron sharpens iron. And Larry Bird, and you can't
get out of my
Larry
face,
Bird
baby.
without saying Magic Johnson. Yep. Those two really changed the face of the game of basketball when they came in 1980. So getting a chance to compete against him as much as we did twice during the regular season, and once we saw them in the playoffs, most of the time it was 5 or 7 games. It meant the world to me. And you know what? Before Larry said that I was the best defensive player, I always said he was the hardest player for me to guard. Larry wasn't the most athletic person, but he was that person that wasn't going to ever be denied. He was a competitor. His basketball IQ was off the chart. He understood the game of basketball, working with his teammates and where they could best shots out out on the floor. So going against Larry was always my biggest challenge. And there were some great ones: George Gervin, Andrew Toney, Dr. J, a young Michael Jordan, just to name a few players that I went against. Larry stood up there with the best. I mean, you guard Dominique Wilkins, probably one of the most athletic players I had to guard in the 80s. But Larry just had that will to win, and you were competing against that every time you stepped on the floor against him.
And Larry is very nice to always say how much you meant in his career.
Best defensive player ever guarded me was Michael Cooper. I'll take that to my grave with me. He was a very intelligent defensive player. He was very focused, and it was great to play against him because I was at a level at that time I thought I was playing some great basketball, and he was able to guard me pretty well.
Yeah, pretty well. You did pretty well against him.
Well, Ted, the one thing about Larry, and this is what I'll say, that kind of made him different from other players.
Yeah.
These are great players. When they get the ball and they pass it to their teammate, they'll kind of stand to the side and watch what's going on. Larry, you couldn't do that. If he passed the basketball, you had to get on him because he was going to go get offensive rebound. He was going to go set a back pick to free one of his teammates. He was going to do something to impact that possession at that time. And that's every possession down the floor for him. So that's what made him tough to guard, because he was going to do something. He wasn't going to stand and kind of watch, and and when the ball came back to him, then he gets into focus and he becomes part of the play. When Larry passed the basketball, when he became more dangerous. Now there's other players that did that too as well, but Larry was one of the best.
Yeah, and I love this picture because I remember in high school, my coach would say, "Hands up, damn it, hands up." And look at you. You got your hands up, and probably did that.
It wasn't about scoring all the time for him. He was going to hit his teammate for a score. So I had to kind of affect his vision. But yeah, I was taught the right way from Coach Turgeon in high school. When you're playing defense, you play defense with your feet, then your eyes, and then your hands.
One of the great trash talkers of all time, Larry Bird. How much did he do with you, or did he back off saying, "I don't need to trash talk this guy," because he didn't care?
Well, you heard in the soundbite, he said I was very focused. So talking to me, talking trash wasn't going to affect me. So probably the first 2 times we played him, he would say things, but after that, he knew words weren't going to affect me. It's like that sticks and stones.
Right.
Words don't affect me. Well, he wasn't going to talk me out of my game. I was going to stay focused. So that was the fun part about guarding Larry, trying to match the basketball IQ and the wits that he had, and not listening to his voice or what he thinks he's going to do when he says he's going to do something.
Did you ever say anything to him?
Not really, because I knew it wasn't going to affect him. It was about basketball. And one of the things I kind of like Larry is that I never tried to play him dirty or hurt him. I always played him as physical as I could within the limits of the game. So I like to think that that's what he meant by me, as being a good defensive player, because certain teams like Detroit, Philadelphia, they tried to bang on you, be physical with you and stuff like that. And that wasn't going to affect him because Larry was going to play. So I just try to match wits with him and play him as honest and as hard as I could without being too dirty. And, you got to hold each other at times, but it wasn't anything overt.
Right. We only have a minute to go here for part 1, because I got so much to share with you. We got to do a part 2 soon, maybe next week when you come back. What are you looking forward to the most at the Naismith Basketball Hall of Fame?
You know what? I'm just really, again, being around my Laker teammates. Magic, Kareem, and Worthy will be there, along with a lot of people from the Lakers front office that's coming down. Linda Rambis and Kurt Rambis will be there, and Michael Thompson. So just being around my teammates and being around the other inductees, Chauncey Billups, Vince Carter, just to name those 2. But just going to have fun with it. Just going to take it in. My wife has been telling me, babe, just have fun. Just enjoy the moment. So I'm going to enjoy the moments. And, once they put that jacket on me, and once Sunday comes and it's official, is when you just kind of like, not in my case, but in most cases, you let your hair down.
I love it. And how about getting your number retired and putting up on the rafters too? How great is that?
Well, that's going to be the next thing. And that one there will be a little bit more touching than the Hall of Fame. Hall of Fame is important to me because it's your contribution to the game of basketball on and off the floor. But to have my jersey retired by the Lakers, something I never saw coming, never thought it was going to come even after this Hall of Fame. But that's the one you kind of like, okay, I'm leaving a legacy because I'm going up there with 4 of my teammates and a lot of great Laker players.
Yeah, and not only that, but just the fact that it's going to be there forever. I mean, that's just
Exactly.
a family
The
pride
grandkids
thing,
will
right?
get to go wherever the Lakers are playing and look up in the rafters and see that number 21 hanging up there.
Coop, have a wonderful flight, man. Thank you so much for coming on. I'm so proud of you. You have no idea.
Thank you, Ted. Love you. And I'm looking forward to part 2, if not part 3.
All right, man. We'll talk next week. Have a great trip.
Bye-bye.
That's Michael Cooper, everybody. Touching greatness. It doesn't get any better. Have fun and have a wonderful Hall of Fame induction.